There's that funky slide guitar music. It finally comes on every live Monday Live at 5. Newswire, man, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire and the aforementioned day. Well, that's on 5:30. We are on Rumble. I think YouTube, Rumble, and that. Check us out, subscribe, type in Newswire on Rumble. I don't know. Come in here. Everything was working. We did a test Sunday. Everything was working perfectly. Then I come in here and the sound is just all, I get buzzing and all sorts of this and of that going on. But we finally got that resolved. Hopefully we'll have Dr. Kelly Victory on at the bottom of the hour like we usually do on a Monday. We'll get into some of that. The Trump polling is actually going so far in his way, in his favor. I don't know how they're ever going to get it back, but we will see. I think we might have a 50 state finally. Reagan won 49 states. Really won Minnesota, but they didn't want to contest Mondale's seat. But at the rate it's going on the polling, I'll get into the Martin Truex in the comments and stuff on that at the Sonoma race. We got to knock off this language crap. It's getting ridiculous. 100% ridiculous of anything, of any semblance of normalcy. We're just like, I don't know, it's getting out of shape. But here's the Fox News running the recent polling. It was going on Donald J. We're going to see if this works, see if the video switcher's back in play.
Polls are showing a shift in some states.
Doug Luzader joins us live from Washington. Everybody's kind of wondering right now what impact Trump's felony conviction has had on those numbers, Doug.
Good morning. And if there has been much of an impact beyond just kind of solidifying positions that are already out there, and that's where these state-by-state numbers get pretty interesting.
Isolationism was not the answer 80 years ago and is not the answer today.
President Biden marking the 80th anniversary of D-Day and taking a not-so-veiled shot at former President Donald Trump with talk of isolationism. In a rare sit-down interview, he was asked directly about Trump and the debate later this month.
He's about him. I'm about the country.
Are you ready for this debate?
Yes.
We're going to win the great state of Arizona, and we're going to tell crooked Joe Biden, you're fired.
Trump, meantime, in Arizona, talking about winning that state that he narrowly lost in 2020. And our new swing state poll shows him ahead of Biden in Arizona by 5 points. And he's also leading in Florida and Nevada. And perhaps most surprisingly, he is tied in Virginia. That's a state he lost to Biden by 10 points.
100% on that. They have not won Virginia, I don't think, in 10 years. Or he lost to 10 points. Well, no, it's been more than that. I think maybe George W. Bush in the Kerry election of 2004 was the last time Republicans won Virginia. And he's tied, and he lost it to Biden by 10 points. Virginia is now a swing state. It could go either way. Nobody even had that on the radar screen 2 months ago or any time. There was no possible way. It was not even on the radar screen at all, for no reason. Everybody thought he won it by 10 points last time. There's no way. There's no possible way that he is going to lose that, and now it's tied on the latest Fox News poll. This is why the left is going absolutely bonkers nuts, out of shape, can't think. It's incredible, per se, that we are in this situation. Not that it isn't a good thing that we are. I think because it looks like Joe Biden's going to go down to a humongous defeat. All to that. Like I say, Trump said in one of his recent rallies when he was in New York on the sham trial, he said, we might win New York. And he might. He might even make California close, depending on how much support Kennedy gets. And it might be even possible that it's a win for Trump in California. Now, a very slight possibility, but it could happen. So hear more from the Fox Good Day LA report.
Virginia hasn't gone for Republican in 20 years. That's a generation. Nevada hasn't gone for Republican in 20 years. That's another generation. This means that this is a race where the battlefield is expanding in Trump's direction, and Biden is playing defense now on growing numbers of fronts.
The Biden campaign remains confident.
Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania are not in the poll. I noticed that we're a lot closer in Florida than we have been in the last 2 years. I think we're going to win Arizona. I believe we're going to win Nevada, too.
Okay, but you listen to all of those states, Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. That's where both of these campaigns are going to be spending a lot of time in the months ahead. And back to you guys.
That's some groundwork to cover there. All right, thank you, Doug.
Definitely, they got some groundwork to cover on that. The little reporterette is 100% right on that. They got a lot of ground to cover on that situation. Like they said, Republicans hasn't won in 20 years. So again, that's George W. Bush. I think it's the last time they won Virginia is in the Bush-Kerry race. Haven't won Nevada. None of these states. Trump's leading by 5+ points in Nevada. Has been consistently leading in Florida, Nevada. These states that were totally Arizona and Georgia. He won in 16, lost in 20. Obviously didn't go back for 20 years. Republicans haven't won. He lost Nevada both times in 16 and 20. Now he's leading by 5 points. That's doing a lot to the Hispanic vote switch on that. And we're looking at a firestorm of a victory, I believe, in 2024. Of course, politics, things can change in a heartbeat. Victor Manuel Perez, supervisor, 4th District, mainly the lower desert, Coachella Valley, Indio, Palm Springs, all that area. We're down the budget hearings. Maybe we'll get into that tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll roll into that. They had their budget meeting. They will pass a almost $10 billion budget for Riverside County on June 25th. They still can't figure out how to open up all 1,200 beds at the Indio jail. We'll get into that. But he was interviewed on KSEQ down in Palm Springs about the pay raise. Had some interesting things to say. Let's see if she goes. Here we go.
They approved double-digit pay hikes for themselves and several other elected officials, despite public criticism and lack of support from a fellow member. As we reported, the salary of several supervisors, including 4th District Supervisor Manuel Perez, will increase 19% from $190,000 to $226,000. Meanwhile, the supervisors also approved an allocation of $30,000 to pay for a new series of animal services mobile clinics to be held in unincorporated communities, including here in the Valley. I spoke about all this today with Supervisor Perez. First off, Supervisor Perez, what do you say to critics, including fellow Supervisor Kevin Jeffries, who says these double-digit pay raises are too much, too fast?
Yeah, well, there's never a right moment. And it is awkward, obviously, when one supports an initiative that's going to benefit them, obviously. It's a tough one. And Kevin, though, I will say that, I appreciate Kevin because he's very upfront. And he gives us his ideas as to why or why not. And mind you, we've had this discussion around salaries and pay raises for ever since I actually was on the board when I first started. So it's been 10 years since an actual raise took place between the other electeds. And so we just felt overall it was time for it. Now, too soon, too fast? Well, look, I hear you for many different reasons. We still lack infrastructure, right? We still have a homeless population. We still have veterans that don't have a job. We have a lack of housing. That's been happening. It's going to continue to happen. And I understand it. But I will say that I take pride in my work. I work hard. So does my staff. I've been able to give raises to my staff for the course of years, as well as labor. And we ultimately felt it was time for us to receive one as well. And I can understand the critics, and I get it, and it's okay. But just know, though, that this office, the phenomenal fourth, is going to continue to work hard on a daily basis on behalf of our constituents.
Obviously, a lot of people right now in this.
So let's stop there. He says they have not gotten a pay raise since he's been on 16 or 10 years. They get a pay raise every year. Their salary is tied to 80% of the judges. They've got pay raises every year. They rescinded that they were getting 80% of whatever a judge makes. And now they bumped that over that. They've gotten pay raises every year. Kevin Jeffries has not taken a pay raise since he came in 2012. He's making $143,000. The other four are going to be making $226,000 just on their base salary. One member was making $250,000 a year with benefits. That's a total cost to us. So that it's total BS that they were not getting pay raises. They were getting pay raises every year. They didn't have to vote on it. If the judges got a pay raise, which they did every year, the supervisors got a pay raise. So Perez is running a line of BS when he says, in his little Harvard shirt over there, and I mean, I challenge him to do that. You have been getting pay raises. Your salary is larger by a lot than when you first came in 2016 or whenever it was, whenever you were appointed by Moonbeam Brown. So again, we're supposed to trust you on the budget that we went through yesterday or today, and that you're going to pass in everything you do. Say, no, we wanted a larger pay increase as Board of Supervisors than had already been determined, and we had been getting. We wanted to go up 19%.
County are struggling to pay their bills. So what do you want to say to those folks who feel like these raises are inappropriate?
Yeah, well, look, I understand. They may feel that way, but I will say that we are, if you look at the other counties and you look at as to how much those counties and those supervisors are earning on a yearly basis, it's compatible. And not only this county is struggling.
The Riverside County.
So we're trying to justify it. Again, LA County is 4 times the size of Riverside County. So they have 4 times the responsibility. They have 4 times the constituents. You want to be paid equal to LA County, which is doing a lot more work per supervisor. 4 times. They're complete nutcases. Makes you want to. I mean, we went into the budget stuff, and just like I asked them, hey, it doesn't make any sense. You say crime's exploding, we can't arrest people because we don't have jail space, and we got 1,200 beds sitting over there in India empty, and a brand new jail we built, or whatever the number is. Half the jail, 3/4 of the jail. There's staffing problems or whatever, fix it. Chuckawalla's closing. They're moving that up to November. There's going to be a lot of, down in Blythe, there's going to be a lot of people in the correctional, the jailers, looking for jobs. And going from Blythe to Indio is like a vacation upgrade. All we hear is excuses of why we can't do this and how we can't do that and yada, 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 yada. I think a lot of us are getting tired of 11,000 excuses. One thing I want to touch on before we join Dr. Kelly and hopefully KMET on that. So European election things going on. Man, they are, just like the United States, number one issue, immigration. It is over there. They've had it decades long. They say, oh, immigration is going to make us this, ruin their economies in France and Germany and Great Britain, all across the European Union. The elections, or people are finally starting to get teed off enough about this. And they're switching. Macron's over there thinking he's going to go down the crapper. In France, he's calling for new elections after the debacle they've had in the latest ones. A growing number of people are teed off all across the world about this mass immigration. The United States isn't the only country that's ruining theirs, letting in a bunch of illegal aliens. Or just throwing the gates open, we just all come on in, we don't care. We're not checking you out. We don't have any idea who you are or nothing. This reminds me of 1980, after the Carter deal and what was it? The Iron Lady came in Great Britain. The sweeping elections across, not only in the United States, but across the world. We're in for some interesting times on that, by far. It looks like, and there's only a few, maybe 100 votes left to count. Looks like by 51-49 margin, Joe Komrosky will be recalled from the Temecula Valley School Board. 51, it was a close election, but the surprising part was 44% turnout in a special election. Wow. That was probably more than they had even in that area in the primary. Yeah, they probably had pretty close to that. That was quite a turnout for that. He looks like he's just barely going to go down. He will be recalled, so we will see how they do that. There's going to be election to fill the seat from Garcia, who resigned. Now, if they can't come to appointment, there will be another election to fill the seat, as I read the way they're doing the new laws now. So we shall see how that all plays out. But interesting times politically all across the board. Couple of things it's always good to second guess. But the one thing I didn't like I liked a lot of the philosophy of Komrosky, but I didn't like him cutting the free speech of those at the council meeting.
30 seconds. 30 seconds, Roy.
Yeah, I don't know. Everything was working perfect. Sean can attest to that. Yesterday, I come in here and the sound's just completely freaking fouled up. I mean, I'm getting feedbacks, buzzes. Get ready to broadcast. I even tested it today. Get ready to broadcast. Come in here and fire it up. And I'm getting feedback. And I'm back to where I could hear you on the speaker in the computer, but I can't hear you through my headphones. But
Oh, wow.
we maybe have to
All right.
run another test tomorrow. But
Here we go. 10 seconds.
We'll talk about that later.
IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes in every Monday through Friday, live at 5:30 on the Mighty Met, 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire and the aforementioned AM band. Join your vast video audience in the Evil FB Network and Rumble. Check us out, subscribe, type in iNewsWire on Rumble. I think we're even irritating the folks on YouTube today. Thought I had a lot of stuff set up to go on that. Thought I had all the technical stuff come in, and as I said, as I led into or outroed it, of the web show, man, the sound system went, everything went, but at least I think we've got it patched back together enough, but hopefully it's listenable. Today, hopefully, Dr. Kelly will be calling in a few seconds, and we'll just get her insights into, just about everything COVID-19. I heard some interesting information about cognitive decline and how it affects some and the others and that. Maybe we'll start off with that, and then we'll work into some of the lay COVID stuff on that. But man, it's been an eventful day. The Trump polling numbers are driving the left-wing loons off the edge of the cliff. It keeps getting worse. They thought the sham trial, the felony conviction, was going to doom Trump. He's only getting stronger. Virginia's in play. Biden won it by 10 points the last shot. Victor Manuel Perez, Riverside County Supervisor, claims they haven't gotten a pay raise for that. He's gotten a pay raise every budget year on that. And it is incredible how these cats think they can survive. They're in poverty. Supervisors at a compensation package of $250,000 a year, and that isn't enough. They voted their own pay raise on that. They were getting pay raises. They built one 19% above the pay raise that they were scheduled to get this year. It's absolutely crazy. But as we usually do on a Monday, we have the supreme physician, as I've determined her, and all-around expert on COVID-19 and just about everything else, Dr. Kelly Victory. Welcome to IE Newswire with Roy.
Hey, Roy. Happy Monday.
It's fantastic. I just heard a new study come out. We'll get to the COVID stuff, and there's some breaking news on that. On cognitive decline and Alzheimer's disease and things like that. They said there's a certain population that their brain looks rotted out like Alzheimer's, but they're able to function. And they ran some studies on that from what I was reading on it. And they said, oh, look, these people that even though their brain it looks like it rewired itself because they stayed active. Because let's say they didn't just sit in the corner and do nothing. They were working, solving problems, doing that work, keeping their brain occupied on all this stuff. And it seems like your brain, even though it was declining or wearing out or, morphing into forever nothingness, seems to rewire itself if you keep yourself physically active and going. Have you seen that study, Dr. Kelly?
I didn't see that you're referencing, Roy, but this is something long known in medicine, that the brain has what we call plasticity. It has the ability to do exactly what you're describing. fundamentally to rewire itself. So if it has areas of injury that have been injured from whatever, whether it was a car accident, a brain hemorrhage, a stroke, something like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's where you have plaques, there is the ability for the brain, for other parts of the brain to take over and fundamentally to sort of, as you said, rewire. It's what we call brain plasticity. It's one of the reasons why staying cognitively engaged is so important as we age, because as you age, your brain does begin to decline, and keeping the other areas active is critically important. So when I say engaged, I mean by doing things, whether it's being engaged socially or, doing a crossword puzzle, doing math problems, doing anything that causes you to continually engage multiple parts of your brain, including the spatial component. That's why doing artistic things can become very important, dancing and things that require balance and engage those parts of your brain. The brain is remarkable in its ability to rewire itself and to replace areas that may have been damaged or injured.
So not only is it important to stay physically active, it's most important to stay mentally active. Even like you say, even if you just do a crossword puzzle or a regular puzzle. I know they did that with Reagan in his last years. They had him doing just regular puzzles, putting it together, and that to keep him, to try and keep him sharp long enough. It was, and they said the more you stayed physically and maybe even more important, mentally active, the longer it took for Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or diseases like this to affect these certain people that they studied that kept on this, which I'm wondering is, what the hell's going on with Joe Biden?
Well, but you're exactly right. And that's why one of the things as irritating as I find cell phones and iPads and this constant screen time, it does make me happy when I'm on a plane and the person next to me is playing Sudoku or something, doing a crossword puzzle on their phone, because at least they are engaging their brains. It is critically important. What's going on with Joe Biden is Joe Biden has advanced dementia, and rather than engaging him, they simply try to lead him around. They gave him handlers. I don't know what they do behind closed doors. I suspect they give him his pudding cup and tuck him into bed early most nights rather than keeping him engaged. He clearly has no idea what he's saying at most times, and without the help of a lot of additional drugs, and I suspect that is what they do for him on those rare occasions when he makes a halfway coherent presentation, is they've got him jacked up on things like Adderall, and that's the only reason he's able to put two sentences together. Unfortunately, he is too far gone, I believe, to really be rehabbed by doing a crossword puzzle.
I think you're right. I mean, we had the reports from Mark Halperin, Britt Hume, ones ago, and then the latest from the Wall Street Journal, all in the last 2 months coming. And these are reports coming out of the White House staff and people who are working. And they basically said in the last 2 months, he's basically lost it. He can't do that. That's why I'm very curious to see if this June 27th debate with Trump, or whatever news conference, whatever you want to call it, we don't really have true political debates hardly anymore in the United States. But as bad as the polling numbers going with Joe Biden, if he doesn't have a great performance, which if all these reports are coming in, I don't see how he can. Trump may win by an Obama 57 states when this thing's all over, Dr. Kelly.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you, I do think he ought to take a drug test, as Trump has suggested, and I think somebody better check him to make sure he's not wired, that he doesn't have an earpiece in, because truly, I suspect that somebody will be feeding him the answers through an earpiece. The question really is not just what's going to happen at the, quote, debate at the end of the month, but what's going to happen come November. Who's actually going to be on it? I still think that there's a strong possibility that at the convention, that they will parachute in somebody else to take his place. particularly if he has a poor showing at the end of the month in the, quote, debate session, then I would not be at all surprised if they parachute in somebody like a Michelle Obama to the rescue to take over and end up being on the ticket.
Shifting gears on this, something that has come up on that, and this is a big surprise. The Ninth Circus Court out here overturned the Los Angeles Unified School District's, shot mandate, mask mandates that they were doing. I brought the same thing up to Moreno Valley Unified, and I got a bunch of flack on that. They were basically like LAUSD was. They were basically making it. They were taking two classes of citizens. Once they opened the schools back up, which they took too long, if you got the vax, you didn't have to be tested. If you were unvaccinated, you had to be tested at least once a week. And I said, that's flat discrimination. There is no, first, all the information comes out, it was all a bunch of BS, 98% of it anyway. And plus, you're discriminating because we now know at this point, there's no possible way that you could get transmission, or all the social distancing, or you were protected, or you couldn't get COVID. That was a lie. And that's what the Ninth Circus said. Yes, it was. You were discriminating against those who were not vaccinated and exposing them as a cost of employment to be tested when somebody that had a vaccine that was not going to protect anybody and not going to protect them, and you exempted them. The Ninth Circuit, and unless the Supreme Court overturns it, that's going to be case precedence as it is. I think this is going to open up a humongous can of lawsuits coming on. What say you, Dr. Kelly?
Well, this is a critically important ruling, Roy, for the reasons you lay out. The Ninth Circuit opined that the COVID mRNA shots are not a vaccine. That's the important part of this. They ruled they are not a vaccine. They ruled that previously there was a misapplication of what was cited as precedent law in Jacobson v. Massachusetts back in 1905. In 1905, the Supreme Court ruled that a state can mandate or coerce or, require a compulsory vaccine, quote, to prevent the spread of disease throughout the public. In that case, it was talking about smallpox. That case was cited as the precedent on which these states were allowed to, quote, mandate or coerce people or require a vaccine. Now, the Ninth Circuit says, oh, no. That was because, as it said in the ruling in 1905, to stop the spread of disease. These COVID shots, hopefully everybody knows by now, do not stop transmission. They were never even tested for that, and they certainly don't do that. So the Ninth Circuit, I believe, correctly has ruled that these mRNA shots are not a vaccine. They are actually a medical treatment. They are a therapy, and the state has absolutely no right to require any individual to take a medical therapy that may or may not help that person. So this is, in fact, huge. I think it will open up a pathway for a tsunami of lawsuits, and critically important that the court has now actually labeled these what they truly are, which is not a vaccine, but in fact a medical therapy or treatment.
I got when I was raising heck about this, when they were pulling this policy at Moreno Valley Unified, when they pulled it back in, after 2 years when they let the kids in. I got a call from a school board member, C.J. Johnson, and he's roasting. Well, why are you? But out of 3,500 employees, only 17. That's class, teachers, the guys mowing the lawn, everybody. Out of 3,500 employees, only 17 did not take the vax. That's how much 99% of the people took. That's how much of a hammer they put on them to make their lives miserable. And I can guarantee you not all of those people wanted to take that vaccine. They did it just because they didn't want to take the flack. And I said, I don't care if it was one person out of there, CJ. You are discriminating of that. I brought it up at the public meetings and in emails and everything several times, and they tried to skirt it like they do 98.7% of everything I bring up. But you never hear, never. I want to hear from Riverside County, the Board of Supervisors, the health officials, the witch doctor down in L.A., the mortician galley up at the state, Gulag, Gavin Newsom, Biden, and everybody that was roasting you, me, and everybody else over this stuff. And time again, the courts, the science, 98.7%, and I'm probably being low, back up everything we were saying, Dr. Kelly.
Well, I'll tell you, you're absolutely right, Roy, that they discriminated against people left and right, and they took great glee in it. They did it. It was evil. They absolutely would, isolate people, say that you need to be tested whatever they make up. There's an emergency room physician in my small town that chose not to get vaccinated. And they said, okay, because they need doctors. They said, you can keep working, but you need to be tested every single day for COVID. And they would shove that swab so far up her nose. She came to me crying on multiple occasions, nosebleeds from having that. And the people doing it took great joy in discriminating against her. Now, fast forward, she, like, the rest of us, are getting their day in court, and she really believe will have a lawsuit that she can bring against the hospital and against the public health officials. One of the things I want to know, the real reality is, I wish somebody would have asked Anthony Fauci when he was under oath in front of Congress and catch him off guard. Ask him the question, Dr. Fauci, did you actually get injected with an mRNA shot? And watch his face. Ask Gavin Newsom, did you actually take? Because I'll tell you right now, there is not a chance in hell, Roy, that those people actually got injected. They know better. They didn't. I guarantee you that Deborah Birx and Rochelle Walensky and Anthony Fauci and Gavin Newsom and the rest of them did not take those shots.
Yeah, all us tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists were out there saying there was no way they were doing this. You put something on the X machine that Redfield finally speaking out of saying what happened with Birx and that they're fine. After all this time, they're fine. We're getting dribs and drabs of the trees. Let's see if this plays. Here we go. I thought it was going to play. See if it.
Let's take a listen.
Birx and I felt that these vaccines really ought to be prioritized for nursing homes, prioritized for assisted living, prioritized for the elderly over 60, 65. And yet, that's not what happened. There was.
What in the hell is he talking about? Birx and him were out there saying everybody's got to get the freaking shot. This drives me absolutely nuts. This guy is, to me, I don't see how he's not lying through his freaking teeth. He didn't out there say, you know what? And probably for people 65 and over or had, comorbidities or all that stuff, it probably did. There was probably a risk factor that said, yeah, maybe, it's worth taking the shot, being the vulnerabilities. I don't remember Redfield ever saying that. I don't remember Birx or Fauci or any of them ever saying. They're just saying, we were going to kill everyone, us, the unclean out there that didn't get the vax. And now that they're being proven wrong time and time again, they're trying to backtrack. This drives me nuts, Dr. Kelly.
Listen, Robert Redfield is nothing more than a rat trying to jump from a sinking ship. He's trying desperately to get on the right side of history. For him to come out and say that he and Deborah Birx, quote, felt that, they shouldn't have been given to children, felt that there shouldn't have been a mass vaccination program, felt that the shots should have been just for the elderly or those at high risk. He didn't say that. If he felt it, then he should go to prison right now, because he didn't stand up. He lied to the American public. He had a platform. He wasn't heard. He had the ability to get out there, speak his concerns, state his worry about this, inform people about it, push back against the institution, push back against Fauci and those other people who are pushing to say this is not a good idea. But he didn't. He not only went along with it, he took money for it, he was paid, he went along and rode along the wave until all of a sudden now the data is so overwhelming, there's so much evidence that we were harmed. And now in June of 2024, he wants to come out and people have adulation for this guy as if he's some kind of a truth teller. Oh my Lord. As I said, rat jumping from a sinking ship.
You're being far too kind on this. I mean, again, of all the flack, all of us that stood for what was right, that stood for the science, that stood for, hey, you felt that way. When did you ever say it? You were saying exactly the opposite. If you felt that, then and you knew it, then tell me that isn't the definition of a lie. A lie is deliberately telling something you know not to be true. And Redfield, Fauci, Birx, Biden, all across the board sat out there and did that. And they're trying to say, well, we felt that. Then how in the world could you go out in any good conscience and say what you did when it was exactly the opposite of what you knew was the truth, Dr. Kelly?
Right. And the reality, Roy, is that we have clear precedent based on the Nuremberg trial. The Nuremberg trials showed us, that we set clear precedent that, quote, just following orders, I was just following orders, is not a defense. I will remind people that of the people who were convicted and hung for Nuremberg trials, 7 of them were physicians who were, quote, just following orders. That is not a defense. If Robert Redfield has the guts to come out now, I would sooner have him say, I was bamboozled and didn't know. I was fooled by the data. They lied to me and I misinterpreted the studies. But to tell me that you knew all along and didn't do anything about it? Oh, there is a special place in hell.
100% on that. There's got to be Redfield and Birx emails out there like the Fauci ones that came out last week. That must be why he's trying. This all earmarks to me that he's trying to get out ahead of this deal of that, because he knows somebody got a hold of the documents, like Fauci's deal with whoever Morton's or whatever there was. Oh well, we'll make sure we'll fix this so these those tinfoil hatters can't file a Freedom of Information request and find out really what the hell's going on. It's absolutely mind-numbing what's going on. Again, I got to wrap my head in duct tape, else it's going to explode. Thanks for being on, Dr. Kelly. We'll do this again soon.
Thanks, Roy. Talk soon.
You got it, Dr. Kelly Victory. Man, that stuff going on, they knew. Like Fauci said in that, oh, it's BS. We're going to teach them guys if they don't take this vaccine. No, it isn't even the Ninth Circus, of all places, ruled it's not a vaccine. It's a health treatment. Now they can mandate health treatment. So this all goes to the gender. We'll get into this. No wonder they're pushing the gender stuff, because that's a health issue, mental health. Oh, you don't want. Do you want a dead daughter or a live son? Holy bleeping cow. Not that I wasn't upset enough over cranks over there at the border. So I didn't even get to Martin Truex using the word retarded at the Sonoma. Maybe hopefully I get to that tomorrow of that. And nobody's saying he used the F word first. Nobody's saying anything about that. Oh, he used the word retarded. Oh, gosh. We got to stop pussyfooting around this language, and everything else is getting to be, well, we are. If you're under 40, you're afraid of your freaking shadow. You're ducking and running if the phone rings. Holy cow. Things can do. It's like, it's hard. It's a long climb up Mount Everest. Man, if you fall off that thing, it only takes a few seconds before they're reading your full name out. As you know, I've been talking about standing up for our country, doing something. These big box stores stayed open while the little guys closed. Will our voices be heard? Does voting with our dollars work? PatriotSwitch.com gives patriots the power to walk away from the big box stores forever. Stop supporting the enemies of freedom now. That's why PatriotSwitch.com was created, for those who support America. PatriotSwitch.com. Is your car doing the hucklebuck and afraid you will be stuck? Well, head on down to Toyota of San Bernardino, Nissan of San Bernardino, Subaru of San Bernardino, and the San Bernardino Auto Mall, and catch a Camry, look ravishing in a Rogue, or be styling in a Subaru. Don't forget I-10 Toyota in Indio for those of you in the lower desert. You deserve to be the happiest human on the planet. So head on down to one of these 4 great dealerships for the car of your dreams. Spread the word. IE Newswire is now on every Monday through Friday, live at 5 p.m. on Rumble and KMET 1490 AM, 5:30 to 6 p.m. Join all the cool kids who want an eclectic look at the news without all the filters of the evil scoundrels of social media and the despicable dorks of the dominant press. Don't bumble and stumble. Subscribe to IE Newswire on Rumble and roll with the best hillbilly hoedown around. That's it. If you want to buy American, go to PatriotSwitch.com. If you need a new Subaru or Toyota, go to Winnicliff Cummings Great Dealerships at San Bernardino Auto Mall at the 10 and 215 freeways. Don't forget I-10 Toyota down in the lower desert. What a day. Thought I had everything fixed. Then I come in here and the sound system goes completely freaking haywire. Don't want to get too far down the conspiracy theories, but some other stuff that's been happening is getting beyond coincidental of what's been going on. We'll soldier through this stuff on that. We'll be back down at the county tomorrow morning again. Hopefully I'll get to this stuff at the Ninth Circus with them down there because they were one of the head yahoos on torturing us with the COVID con, locking us down and all that noise. Wow. That'll do it for today. Editorial back here in 23 hours wide. You're the best darn show in the whole wide world. Until then, see ya.
The proceeding was a paid program.
All right, Roy. Well, let me know what you want to do tomorrow.
Maybe probably 2 o'clock. You good around 2 o'clock for a test?
Yeah, that should be fine.
Okay, I'll unless something else comes up, but let's try and work in 2 o'clock. Like I said, everything was working fine Sunday. The sound system just hums and oh gosh.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
I got no clue, man, what the fuck's going on.
It's getting beyond weird, but we'll talk tomorrow.
All right, sounds good.
You got it.
Bye now.